Hey, good afternoon, everybody. I'm just going to kind of go through a few of the knives that I've already got finished for the show in Jersey City, starting on Friday. I'm only just going to go through a few of the knives that I've done that are new, but I'm just going to kind of go over a few of them. One of them is a model that I have been doing, I guess, about 6 months, but I've just started doing it in a very skeletonized frame lock. It's a small little utility knife. There's really nothing to these. It's just a 100,000 titanium and a blade and some nice hardware from Steve Kelly. The big thing about this particular group of these that I have done is these are S90. S90 is one of the major super steels that are out there. It, in my opinion, is a pain in the butt, but it really does, once you get it sharp, it holds an edge and it really does do what it's supposed to do. It's just, it's a real hard steel for somebody who doesn't have a lot of diamond stones. If you're just trying to do, you know, old-fashioned like wet rocks and things like that, you are never going to touch this kind of steel. This steel is impervious to just about everything. But that is an XS1 in S90. Like I said, all the hardware is Steve Kelly's hardware, and that's the XS1. Now the other one that I did, it's an XS1 pattern that is very much supersized, so we're calling that the Big Country XS1, but this one is a CPM 154 blade. That's the steel I prefer because I like to be able to get something in a razor edge and then still be able to touch it with the diamonds that I carry around with me most of the time. All this the frames have been milled. They're all manually milled. I just literally put the lines down and try to transfer them on both sides of it. It's got a spring clip, Steve Kelly hardware for the pivots and the thumb studs, dual thumb studs, and all the standoffs on the inside. They're all Steve Kelly's as well. And then one of the knives that I really used to like to do a whole lot are these top flippers. I started doing top flippers. We were trying to figure out exactly when I started doing top flippers, but we know that I started doing top flippers like this by 1996. There was a lot of drawings that I had done while I was in college, that I know I was in college and I was making these, but I always have done Persian folders, but this one is just a top flipper. It does take a little get used to because everybody wants to push back here. These aren't a push down. You don't want to push down. All you do is pull back. You just pull straight back on these, and it just opens them up. It's just anodized blue. It's got some mill lines in it that I just kind of did some geometric forms in it. There's nothing really so special about the pattern, but that's just me wanting to do a pattern that's just kind of a randomized pattern that still made sense. This one has an S90V blade, which, like I said, is kind of a pain in the butt, but if you're a steel snob, this is your kind of steel. This is the stuff everybody likes. But these are a top flipper. Kind of look for them. There's not a whole lot of tactical Persians out there from what I'm told, and as soon as somebody started telling me that was an option that people might want, then I definitely was going after that. I had some questions on the size of this knife by somebody, so it looks to me that if you go by the full length of the blade open, it turns to be exactly 3.5 inches. Overall length for this full knife looks like 8 inches and 1/8. So that's the overall dimensions of that knife. Closed looks like 4.5, not counting the little tab sticking off. I guess I should throw you a dimension on this one So the Big Country XS has a full-length blade of 4 inches and a quarter, and the full knife is a big old boy. The full knife is, it looks 10 inches long. So it's a doozy, but it does carry very slim. I think you guys are calling that a footprint. I just say it's slim in the pocket. I guess it's some of the newfangled terms. Another one that I used to do, some of these more in the 3PS dresser line. I used to do some knives that were similar to this one. This one's a little bit different than it. This one's just a Persian tactical. It's, like I said, it's very slim. This one is CPM 154. It's a good little tactical Persian to carry. It should hang right in there with you forever. The titanium fittings, and Steve Kelly hardware again. Spring clip, so it's nice and thin. I know a lot of people do like the 3D clips, but the 3D clips have a tendency to stick way out on my pocket. But now I'm not much of a clip person anyway. I like my stuff to lay at the bottom of my pocket and not bother me. But there's my little tactical Persian. Now this is a knife that I actually designed when I was still in the Navy. There's quite a long story on these knives, but this is an honest-to-goodness VBSS breacher folder. There is some videos and there's some pictures of the fixed blade that I did. Of course, the fixed blade was the first of the line, and I actually carried a breacher for a while I was in the Navy. But this is the folder version. It's got 160,000 titanium frames. It's got a carbon fiber spacer. All 256 hardware in here, but the one thing that you can't hardly see, you're going to see some extra holes that are in here. What those are is they're stabilizing pins. They're a 1/8-inch heat-treated piece of stainless steel that I actually embed down into these into the frames, through this into the other frame, and that keeps everything in line no matter how hard you're pushing. Now, of course, it's a folder, so of course there is some moving parts. There's going to be some flex. It won't work as a folder otherwise. But these pivots are pivots that I actually have to make. They're a 440C pivot that I have to heat treat and then draw them back. They have to be a lower Rockwell than, say, for a blade. That way they can flex a little bit instead of anything else. But you can't just use a standard pivot. You can't get a 416 pivot and hope for the best. It's just not going to hold up for what I intend these knives to do. So anyway, this is the breacher. That's the blade. I always try to get it till you got plenty of handle. It's a nice big thick knife. These things run about 300 thousandths thick, so they're heavier than a 1/4 inch. The blades do. Now, the top part that you're seeing there, if you were nautical at all, or I don't know a whole lot of other the Army type terms, but we used everything on the ships was a nickel slot. You'd kind of hand tighten it, and it would have just a flathead screwdriver type thing. So the very top of this thing is cut, and that's a nickel slot. You just stick this in your stuff, and you can break it open. It's just it's kind of like a screwdriver, but that's what they call this, is a nickel slot. There's a lot of things that you can use a nickel slot for. The tip of these are actually, they're chisel ground. They're not a super sharp chisel, because I've never really intended for them to actually just be a cutter. These are ground all the way just down to a fine point, but they are dulled just a little bit so it doesn't, just eat into things. But it's made for you to be able to stick in stuff, and your paint cans, and when I was doing it, it was 55-gallon drums. That's what they were designed for. And then, of course, the top part is, it's got a cutter. I used it for zip ties and things like that. But the blade is still ground to the point that it's still ground that these things are sharp enough that they would still just shave. That's the actual main cutting on the breachers. But this is an honest to goodness VBSS breacher in the folders. Let's see, the overall dimensions for this knife. It's kind of curved, so looks like it's going to be about an 8 inches and an 1/8, depending on the angle that you go with. The full length of this blade, it looks like it is, if you go way back to the very end of it, 3 5/8 is what your full length for these are going to be. So that's just a few of them that I've got. I've got several more put together, but I just thought I'd do a video, and this one's already a little longer than I was intending. But so you can kind of look for them. I'd say we'll have some more pictures up, but you got a breacher, and you got the top flipper and a regular Persian, an XS and a big country XS, and so that's some of the stuff that I'm going to have. You guys have a great day, and I will see you later.